how much is NATO in the crosshairs right now? How much is NATO potentially at risk, and why? Joining us now for the interview tonight is Fogh Rasmussen. He is the former Secretary General of NATO. He's former Prime Minister of Denmark. He's also the author, most recently, of The Will to Lead, America's Indispensable Role in the Global Fight for Freedom. Mr. Secretary General, I'm really honored that you took the time to be with us tonight. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
From your 5 years leading NATO, what did you come to understand about Russia's posture toward NATO now? What's their strategy when it comes to NATO?
Their strategy is exactly what you have described. It is to split the Western alliance, and it is to ensure that people have mistrust in democracy. And when I'm witnessing the debate, the dispute across the Atlantic, when I'm following the debate here in the States, I think Mr. Putin has more or less achieved his goal.
How vulnerable is NATO, is that alliance, to the kind of splits you were talking about there? Obviously, there are always disagreements and points of contention between even the closest of allies. But the kinds of divisions, the kinds of splits, the kinds of sort of sore subjects that he apparently wants to push, how vulnerable is the alliance?
Well, he cannot split the NATO alliance. Of course, it was a matter of concern when candidate Trump raised doubts about the American commitment to defending all allies. But after he was elected, he has appointed a security team which has reassured allies that the American commitment is unchanged. That's good. And furthermore, he has also provoked, I would say, a valuable discussion about the European investment, both economically and politically, in the transatlantic bond. They understand in Europe that they cannot take the transatlantic bond for granted, so now we have to reconsider how can the Europeans contribute more.
I hear your analysis there, but I feel like there's an uncomfortable tension in part of it, which is that you seem to think that you seem to be saying that you are reassured by people other than the president in the U.S. government, even if you are still worried about the president himself in terms of his approach to NATO. Is that essentially what you mean, that you still have concerns about him but not about his team?
Well, we will see. I mean, there will be a NATO summit on the 25th of May. I would expect a clear signal from that summit, where President Trump will participate, that the American commitment is unchanged, but also that the European allies will contribute much more. But when we listen to Vice President Pence, Secretary of Defense Mattis, Secretary of State Tillerson, etc., they have reassured the European allies about an unchanged American commitment.
As Britain breaks off from the EU in a process that starts today, a lot of people are foretelling the breakup of Europe in some more, in a bigger way. People are looking forward to the elections that are happening in other cornerstone EU countries. Do you feel like those fears are overblown, that the centripetal force that we see operating on alliances like the EU, if not on NATO itself, that those things are as strong as we're worried about?
Well, I have no doubt that President Putin opened a bottle of champagne after he learned about the Brexit vote, because it's in his interest to weaken the Western alliance. However, now we have to listen to the will of the British people and get the best out of the divorce negotiations, and I have no doubt that the UK will now feel even more committed to NATO and contribute even more to European security.
Fogh Rasmussen, former Prime Minister of Denmark, former NATO Secretary General. Sir, as I said, it's an honor to have you with us here tonight. Thank you for talking with us. I really appreciate it.